Does God have a sense of humour? If he does, it's the kind of psychopath humour where someone thinks that the funniest thing in the world is to pull the wings off a butterfly, or in God's case, to pull the limbs off a person, or to order other people to pull the limbs off a person, or to create a world where a large percentage of the creatures have been specifically designed by an all-loving God to pull the limbs off the other creatures. Because when God created all creatures great and small, apparently he only thought it would be great if the creatures could be torn into small, easily digestible pieces, preferably while they were still alive. Because God is most definitely one of those deities who only thinks something is funny if someone is being hurt or humiliated, and preferably both. With the whole world basically being his own prayerfully punked show where he sets up hilarious pranks where he loves to catch the look on your face when you find out that he's just destroyed your house in a hurricane. A small child has stepped on a live landmine in the Sudan. Or his own son thinks he's going out to dinner with his mates but ends up dying slowly and sadistically on a cross. With God jumping out at the end of each of these pious pranks, shouting his famous catchphrase, "You've just been crucified," often quite literally. And when it comes to women, if God had to break up with a girl, there is no way that he'd tell her he was breaking up with her, but instead he'd just ghost her, which is where you don't return texts, messages, or calls from someone ever again, basically becoming like a ghost. And he would tell incredibly sexist jokes about this, like, "So, how do you tell an underage virgin who you've just raped and gotten pregnant that you want to break up with her? Answer, you don't! You just holy ghoster! Bam!" And then he'd move on to the racist humour where he tells hilarious jokes about how funny some races look when they've just found out that he's ordered an army to massacre them, or when they're trying to hold their breath in a gas chamber, like, "Arr!" And then there is sex, where God seems to have made it that no matter what you do, you look like an alternative Cirque du Soleil acrobatics act that is failing dismally. Not just because of the positions you have to get into, but more embarrassingly, because of all the positions you've unsuccessfully tried to get into. And if God tells you to pull my finger, don't do it. It will just end up in a giant black hole and the creation of some weird new universe that smells kind of funky, and that God refuses to take any responsibility for, but instead blames it on the hellhound. But like all psychopathic narcissists, God's sense of humour does not extend to himself. And if you tell a joke about him that he does not find funny, you will find yourself quite literally dying on stage, with the final words you hear ringing in your ears as you die being, of course, "You've just been crucified." God said go screw, get down and dirty while you're doing the do. God said go bang, go slam in every way you can. Yes, God said go screw, make sure you call out my name when you do.